Today on the Commanders Report, I have 8 players currently on the Washington Commanders roster that I think can explode onto the scene here in 2024 under this new regime held by new Commanders head coach Dan Quinn. All right, so before we get into it today, make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already. We have daily Commanders videos on here talking about the latest news and rumors surrounding this football team. It's all 100% free as well. We also have breaking news coverage. So if the Commanders trade for somebody, or if they trade someone away, or if they sign a player in free agency here late into the game, we'll let you guys know with breaking news coverage. We also have weekly live shows every single Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we have a great community of Commanders fans that come on here and we talk about Commanders football. We have a weekly mailbag segment and all that great stuff. And it's all 100% free, guys. So if you love this football team, you want to join one of the largest, if not the largest Commanders fan community here on the YouTube platform, this is going to be the place for you. Make sure you click that subscribe button right now. So the first candidate on my list is none other than number 2 overall pick in this year's NFL draft and the new franchise quarterback for your Washington Commanders, Jayden Daniels. Now, this is somebody that I am super excited to see play in the National Football League, and I'm just really excited to see what he's going to look like in year 1 because I think he's relatively polished as a passer heading into the league. Not only does he bring that dynamic rushing ability that everybody knows about with Jayden Daniels, it's one of the big reasons why he won the Heisman Trophy last year with the LSU Tigers, but when you watch him play within structure, okay, in the pocket, his footwork is really nice, really clean throwing mechanics, which leads to really consistent ball placement and accuracy, especially down the field where it's really special. He's got really great touch on his deep ball as well, and you just don't see that level of polish in terms of being a passer, along with that dynamic rushing ability that you see in Jayden Daniels. We saw, usually it's one or the other, right? You see with guys like Justin Fields, they'll have the dynamic rushing ability, but they won't have the mental processing ability or the ability to throw a really accurate deep pass, right? Or if it's Lamar Jackson, who had the same issues, he had a really, really crappy throwing motion coming out of Louisville, and it affected his accuracy. He fixed it. He eventually got better, obviously, but Jayden Daniels is one of the only quarterbacks in NFL history that we have seen be this good as a rusher, and also he brings a level of polish and efficiency with his stroke in the passing game where you just don't see it very often. I'm super excited to see how it's going to translate into the National Football League. Now, the 2 cons I do have on Daniels' game is that playmaking as a passer outside of structure, going outside, scrambling, making plays with his arm in that way, he doesn't really do it all that often, or at least he didn't there at LSU, because he could just go out and scramble with his legs and still score like 70-yard touchdowns, right? Why do the scrambling thing when he could just run? But I do think that's a skill set in the NFL because he's going to be taking bigger hits. The guys are faster, all these different things where he's going to have to learn to be a little bit better of a playmaker with his arm outside of structure instead of just depending on his legs. And then speaking of his ability to run the football, I do think he needs to protect his body a lot better than he did in college. He took some really big hits last year, and honestly, he's pretty lucky he didn't suffer a really major injury last year, taking some of the hits that he did. And in the NFL, it's going to be even more punishing. It's going to be even more relentless on his body. So if he wants to have a long, fruitful NFL career, and he wants to really preserve his body throughout what's hopefully a 15 to 18, even 20-year NFL career here in Washington, he's going to have to learn to slide. He's going to have to learn to protect his body. He's going to have to learn to get out of bounds when it serves him. And then also, pass the ball outside of structure from time to time as well is certainly going to limit the hits to his body and preserve his NFL lifespan. So let me know down there in the comments section, what is the % chance that Jayden Daniels wins Offensive Rookie of the Year? With Caleb Williams going to the Chicago Bears in a pretty darn good situation there, I think it's going to be tough sledding here for Jayden Daniels. I will give him about a 15% chance of bringing home the Offensive Rookie of the Year trophy, though. I think he's that good. I think that he's really a star in the making here, and I think that we're going to be looking back on this draft class as the Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels draft class. I think those 2 quarterbacks here are going to be probably 2 of some of the best quarterbacks in this conference here in the NFC for a very long time. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, so YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me a % chance Jayden Daniels is the Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2024. The number 2 breakout candidate for the Washington Commanders this year, Jahan Dotson, First rounder a couple years back out of Penn State, a little bit of a smaller wide receiver, had big expectations heading into the 2023 season after a pretty darn good rookie campaign in 2022, had 7 touchdowns, over 500 yards. He really seemed primed to really have a big-time second year in the league, and it just didn't happen, man. Last year, super disappointing, had less yards in his second season in 17 games played than he did in his rookie season. The average went down a lot. The touchdowns went from 7 to 4. And yes, the quarterback play wasn't great. The offensive line wasn't great last year either. So, it's not all on Jahan necessarily, and hopefully the offensive line is better this year. The quarterback play is better. All those things are definitely going to contribute to Dotson having a more fruitful junior campaign here. But I really do think it's time for Jahan to shine. If he's going to really show that he was worth that first-round pick that the Commanders spent on him 2 seasons back, I really do think that this is going to be the year that he's going to be able to at least show that he's capable of being a really good piece to this wide receiver room. I think he's the legit number 2 wide receiver option right now. I think that for a smaller guy, he's got really good hands, really good body control. He's an excellent route runner. He's good after the catch. He's got a really complete profile. All right, so with a guy like Jayden Daniels throwing him the football, I'm really hoping that he can blossom into a legit threat as a receiver here in the National Football League. So coming up here, more breakout candidates for your Washington Commanders in 2024 under new head coach Dan Quinn. But before we get into that, I want to tell you about today's sponsor at PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS or download the PrizePicks app today. And you can also use our code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. So right now, PrizePicks has specials for new and returning users alike for the NBA playoffs, which is absolutely fantastic. Football season's been over for a while, but the action on the hardwood is just heating up with this year's NBA playoffs. And right now, there's no shortage of high-stakes basketball moments every single day. So get in on the excitement right now with our friends at PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app, where you can turn your hoops knowledge into serious cash. That is, if you know ball. So if you want an example of a PrizePicks projection, this is one of my projections from earlier this week. So I took the more on Anthony Edwards' points in Game 5 of that Timberwolves Nuggets series, and then I took the less on points and assists for Josh Hart, and I took the more on Tyrese Halliburton points in Game 5 of the Knicks and Pacers series. So essentially what it is, guys, is you have a bunch of players and you have a bunch of stat types, and you get to pick more or less on whether you think they're going to have more points, less rebounds, all these different things, all these different stat projections. All you have to do is pick 2 to 6 player stat projections, more or less, and then if you get all of them right, you get the cash in. It's absolutely fantastic. It's so much fun, and it's so much fun to play here, and it definitely adds another layer of suspense and spiciness to the NBA playoffs. It's absolutely fantastic, and you can start playing today by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS or downloading the PrizePicks app today. And then don't forget to use our code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Again, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS or download the PrizePicks app today and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. With our friends at PrizePicks, you can pick more or you can pick less. It really is that easy. So the third candidate to break out for the Washington Commanders, I'm going to go second-round rookie Johnny Newton, the defensive tackle. Now, Newton is going to start the season most likely, and I don't see him taking over Jonathan Allen or Daron Payne during training camp. He's going to be a rotational piece to start. Unless they trade Jonathan Allen for whatever reason, Newton's going to be a rotational piece that comes in as a rotating player on definite pass rushing situations. He's a little bit undersized, so he's not necessarily going to be the Jonathan Allen or Daron Payne type where they're going to be run blockers on early downs. When it's second and long, third down and medium, third down and long, when you know the opposing team has to throw the football, that's when Johnny Newton is going to be able to come in and he's going to wreak havoc. He's going to be able to keep Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne fresh throughout the season. And I think as a rotational piece here, Johnny could get like 5-6 sacks in year 1 and really set the foundation for a super fruitful NFL career here in Washington. Then the fourth candidate here to break out is Emmanuel Forbes. And now, listen, man, we know that Emmanuel Forbes did not live up to the hype last season, okay? He was coming in, with so many interceptions and so many pick sixes there with Mississippi State, and people were saying he's going to be the next Sauce Gardner and all these different things. And, I said at the time when they drafted Emmanuel Forbes, they should have taken Christian Gonzalez. He was a better player, and he showed that last year. However, Emmanuel Forbes, I think, is the type of aggressive corner that fits in this Dan Quinn, Joe Witt Jr. style of defense, where if you know the Cowboys' defenses these past couple of years, they're super aggressive. They go out and try to get interceptions, and Emmanuel Forbes is exactly that type of player. So obviously the Washington Commanders believe in him because they haven't gone out of their way to replace him this offseason, right? They haven't brought in, they didn't draft a corner super high to play on the outside. They didn't bring in a big-time free agent. They passed on Stephon Gilmore and Xavier Howard on the outside in the later stages of free agency. They believe in Emmanuel Forbes heading into year 2. And that you're playing a risk there because Emmanuel Forbes was burnt toast last year a number of different occasions against multiple different top receivers. But this is somebody with a lot of talent. I think he fits this defense. And under Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr., I think Emmanuel Forbes could thrive and become a legit number 1 lockdown corner in this league. Then the 5th breakout candidate here on my list, Mike Sainristil. They didn't draft a corner on the outside early this year, but they did get one for the inside. And Sainristil, I think, has the potential to be one of the best nickel defenders in the NFL immediately. All right, nickel cornerback is so important in the modern NFL because pretty much every single defense bases out of a 4-2 front, which means 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and of course you got 3 corners and 2 safeties. Okay, so that nickel corner has essentially become a full-time starter in today's NFL, and Mike Sainristil is going to be great blitzing off the slot to help out with the edge pressure. Okay, he's going to be great in man coverage. He's going to be great in zone coverage. He did everything well. He's good at blowing up screens in the slot, those bubble screens. I really like the skill set that Sainristil brings to the table, and I think that he could absolutely have a stellar rookie campaign, and he might even compete for Defensive Rookie of the Year if he really puts up the sack numbers and gets the turnover production as well. So make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you are a Commanders Report Real one, you watch our videos, you subscribe to the channel, you like the video, because you guys know the best and easiest way to help out our channel here is to click that thumbs up icon. It tells the YouTube algorithm to push this video out to other Commanders fans like yourselves. So I greatly appreciate your support. Make sure you click that thumbs up icon right now. The 6th breakout candidate here, Quan Martin, who they're going to be moving to safety. And, he might be like a backup slot corner. They tried him out at slot corner and at free safety last year. Didn't necessarily play great at either one of them, but I think this year, instead of being a hybrid player like Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio tried to make him last year, I think they're trying to turn him into a true free safety now, somebody that's going to be able to replace Derek Forrest in this defense long term. Forrest is a free agent next offseason. Quan's on his rookie deal. It seems like that's a pretty nice, a bridge there, nice to still keep good players in your defense, but not pay a safety a bunch of money. So it seems like Martin is the future free safety of this football team. Will he play over Derek Forrest? I mean, maybe he might be a rotational piece, might move into the slot every once in a while. I guess we'll have to see. But if he starts over Derek Forrest, who I think is a pretty darn good player, we might have something pretty nice on our hands here with Quan Martin. And then breakout candidate number 7 here, Ben Sinnott, tight end out of Kansas State. Drafted in the 2nd round this year. So obviously the Commanders have high hopes for this guy. And the reasoning why they drafted him that early is his ability to really move quickly and accelerate, which is really rare at his size, okay? Like his ability to stop and start, to get going, his ability to accelerate in and out of his routes and in his cuts is something you don't see from bigger tight ends anymore, or really ever, because it's just really freaky what this guy's able to do with his movement ability. And, working with a guy like Zach Ertz, who's been one of the better receiving tight end threats in the league for a long time, learning from him here in year 1. I mean, not everybody is going to be, a year 1 success like a Sam Laporta, for example, last year with the Detroit Lions at the tight end position. In fact, most tight ends don't pan out in year 1. They usually takes them a couple years to really get going. But if there's anybody in this tight end class other than Brock Bowers that's really going to explode onto the scene here and really be a good player right away, I think it could be Ben Sinnott. for the Washington Commanders. Then the final one here, Dyami Brown. This one's less likely, but I wanted to get a nice round number of an 8 here instead of 7. But Dyami is somebody that's a deep threat, and I know that Jayden Daniels can throw a great deep ball. So, Dyami hasn't had a great start to his NFL career. Let's just call it what it is. He's been more of a tertiary option, backup depth piece throughout his career. Not even Sam Howell, who he had great chemistry with back in his UNC days, even he wasn't able to get things going with Howell last season. So bringing in a new quarterback that he has to build a new connection with, it's going to be interesting to see what Dyami can do here with Cliff Kingsbury. He's going to get on the field a lot with the 4 wide receiver packages that Cliff is going to want to run, and he is a deep threat, so that does fit with Jayden Daniels' skill set. So I'm interested to see how that combination might revitalize Dyami Brown's career. But in terms of everybody else on this list, I'd say probably Dyami Brown is the least likely to break out in 2024. So let me know down there in the comments section, who is your guy? Which Commanders player will have the biggest breakout season in 2024? Will Jayden Daniels have an offensive rookie of the year type performance? Will it be Jahan Dotson getting paired up with a legit quarterback now? Let me know down there in the comments section. Did I miss anybody on my list? Let me know down there in the comments section. That'll be it for today's show, guys. Really do appreciate all of your support. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we got more great Commanders content coming your way for free every single day this offseason.